This week on the Lords of Grantham podcast, we are returning yet again to Downton Abbey, and this time we are jumping into Season 4, Episode 6, a stroll down memory lane. Let's go.
And we're back, we're rested. It's been 2 weeks, and we haven't quite figured out our next step, so in the meanwhile, we are back to the well for a third time, unbeknownst to us until the episode started. Downton Abbey Season 4, Episode 6. What is going on, Corey?
You know, Dave, I was taken aback when you just said that moments ago that this is the third time we've watched this episode. Actually, fourth time, because we've probably watched it when it first aired.
Yeah, we watched it contemporaneously, yeah.
And yet, it feels like the first time. Honestly, it had been so long, it didn't feel like I'd seen this that recently, at least to my mind. So I was happy for us to jump right into this episode. But yeah, happy to be back here. Summer ended, everything's back in full effect. But there's not much news going on, Dave. Just to beat you to it, there's not much news to report in the world of Downton, The Crown, Bridgerton, or any of those things. The only tangentially...
Little bit of Crown-ish news. Kate Middleton released a video today saying she's, to quote Roman Reigns, she's in remission, y'all. Cancer-free.
Yeah. Yep.
Did we ever figure out exactly what kind of cancer she had, or is that still a mystery protected by the Crown?
No, I think they said what it was. I just don't have it on me right here. But are you looking it up right now?
Yep, I am.
Stellar content right now.
Have not revealed what type of cancer.
No, but she is free of it. She completed the chemotherapy, so either way, whatever. Good for her.
Yeah, good for her, and I think she did it the right way. Nice little short video. William didn't say a word. Wasn't about him. Was about her.
Yeah.
Whatever team in the Crown deemed that to be the move, it was the right move.
Yeah. Cancer's the worst. Will always be the worst, and I wish cancer the worst, so good for Kate.
Yeah, also, I mean, if we can look at the one thing that we can kind of poke fun at, William has got to part ways with whatever you call that stuff on the top of his head.
His hair.
It's not. I mean, I don't know if I would even call it. I wouldn't even justify that as a thing to say. It's just like a couple stragglers. If you're the prince, the future king,
mm-hmm.
you have all the funds in the world to hire the best hair guys,
or get a hair transplant.
Yeah, exactly. You can either get a nice shave,
mm-hmm.
go down. You're not that old. Have fun, make it look trendy, or go all out, go the opposite way like Elton John.
Is Elton John wearing a hairpiece? Oh, I guess, yeah, he is, because he was pretty bald.
He's been wearing a hairpiece for
that's true.
Decades.
Forgot about that. Yeah, I mean, his hair looks really rough. And as someone who went bald early, you can't get your hair back after it's gone. You can do as much medicine as you want and everything. It's only preventative. Once it's gone, it's gone. So I don't know what you're holding on to, William. So, face the facts.
Well, I mean, from one bald man to another, we can jump into this pretty iconic episode of Downton Abbey. A lot goes on.
Who's the bald man in this episode that I'm not thinking of?
Well, I mean, grappling with baldness, our man Molesley.
Sure. Yeah, I guess we can talk about that off the top, huh?
Yeah, because I mean, we all thought this was going to be the pigsty episode. So
our listeners want us to watch the episode where Mary and the pig man are grappling with each other in the pigsty.
Yep.
And
I'll let you know, last weekend both of us were away together having a nice long weekend with our friends.
Mm-hmm.
This past weekend I was away having a nice short weekend, but a drive distance away with my brother in upstate New York. So my brain was not screwed on fully to figure out exactly what episode. So did a quick Google, Charles Blake, Mary, Pigs, Season 4, and this was the one that came up. But it's actually, there's only brief discussions of pigs and only brief appearances of Charles Blake.
And Dave tells me what to watch, and I just watch it. I don't ask any questions or anything. I just put it on. So I watched many of random TV shows because of that. So here we are.
That would be a new podcast. I was like, okay, Mad Men, season 2, episode 1.
All right, I'm in. Well, why don't we? If we want to go down that Molesley path, we got to start from the beginning, which is Daisy, right? And Alfred.
Yeah, Alfred. This is after Alfred has been declined the chef school at the Ritz.
Or the job at the Ritz, right? Because he already went through the school.
I think it's like a program that he was accepted into.
Yeah. And he wants to cook, but Daisy, she comes in with a stack of toast, a lot of hot toast, and Carson's like, hey, I'm the toast man. Okay,
feed me. Feed me.
I forgot all about Daisy's infatuation with Alfred. This guy is the biggest loser, the biggest stiff. He shuffles his feet up the stairs. He can't even...
He's blood related to O'Brien.
He's blood related to O'Brien. And he's just a general loser for the most part. But Daisy's like, hey, he's within reach. He's on my level. And Alfred, for some reason, thinks he's above her level. And it's like, no, sir, you're punching up for Daisy. Hate to let you know that.
Do you think I feel like Daisy had her what she's been attracted to historically is a bunch of zeros, with all due respect. I mean, I think William is the only one that we'll never really know because of what his untimely passing. But William was kind of a dud. She didn't even want to be with him.
Right.
She had a crush on Tom Barrow. That didn't work out. William. Then we had Alfred, and then I forget his name in the movies in the later seasons. Andy. Yeah. Andy's the best one of that group.
Right. I'm just saying though, she's a pretty girl. She's not smart, but like
not yet.
Not yet. And Alfred's at least on the intelligence level of her, but he's definitely I don't think Alfred is turning heads necessarily.
And because he's like awkwardly tall.
He's a
especially
ghost.
Especially when you put him next to Jimmy.
He's so pale.
Mr. Ed Spielers.
You put Alfred next to the toast that Daisy's serving, and the toast is darker than Alfred.
Yeah.
So anyways, though, he's bummed that he's not leaving, but Daisy's so happy. And fast forward, right? Well, I mean, we see that Ivy, who had been vying for Alfred's affections, she's going out for walks with Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
And they're getting pretty close. But
Alfred gets a letter.
He does get a letter.
He's number 5.
He's going away. He's going to take the job immediately.
There's 4 positions. The 5th one, number 4 had to drop out. So he was number 5. So he's all excited. He's saying, he didn't think I was that good. I was one away. It's okay, yeah, whatever.
Pretty crazy. They resolve that entire story of Alfred within 20 minutes of the episode. It's like we're not.
I was thinking the exact same thing. Like, how much you're a total dud character when your write-off happens in minute 19 of a mid-season episode. Like, you are gone.
That's Julian efficiency there. And so Daisy's upset and she blames Ivy for making him go away because all she had to do was give some affection. Oh, wait. So this happens. Ivy goes out with Jimmy after Alfred leaves. They go to a movie because he asked her out or whatever.
Yep.
And then we see them on the bench outside of Downton. And it's kind of crazy to me that other people aren't competing for this lone bench that sits there. I feel like it would be a hot commodity to...
Well, I think it's late at night.
Sure. How late, we don't know. But... he tries to kiss her. He tries to lean in a little too heavy on her, and she's like, "Oh no, I ain't that kind of woman. I don't know."
Well, I was totally misremembering this because he starts kissing her, and she's kind of in for a little bit. And then she's like, "No, we gotta. This enough is enough. That's it."
Because he starts to put some weight on her, I think, and that's the thing that kind of upsets her.
And he starts mansplaining like that's the most I've done for a woman to get nothing in return. And Ivy's like, is that supposed to be a compliment?
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't say woman too. He says a girl. He's very demeaning.
the thing that fascinated me about the scene is how we have an entire scene about these two characters who are going to be gone within the next 5 episodes of the series, 5 or 6. Like they're not the main characters at all. And that's one of the best things about Downton is they'll give us moments even with these completely tertiary characters, just because I don't know. Let's see how it plays out. Let's see where it goes. And the long way around is that Ivy is complaining afterwards about Jimmy, and then that's when Daisy says you deserved it, and the reason why Alfred's gone is because you didn't return his affection, and I could have been with them, yada yada yada. I hate you, Ivy. And Ivy's like, what got into her? And Hughes says, oh, you got what was coming to you. Just so you know, Ivy.
I know that obviously Ivy's, I think it's kind of under what she went through. I think in this day and age would make, Jimmy would have to go on his Instagram and make an apology post about how, he overstepped and stuff like that. Whereas in this, he doesn't get faulted at all, really.
Right.
But
she's
Ivy
having a bad day, and then Hughes makes her say, like, yeah, no, you deserve to have a bad day. It's like, okay, let's go easy on Ivy here. Okay, she's just a woman trying to make it through the 1910s. Please.
I think we're in the 20s at this point, right?
No, World War One's still going on. Oh, wait, we're in season 4. So, yeah, 20s, right, because the brown coats are around.
Yeah. I feel bad for Ivy. Mm-hmm. But it is true that she... she's like Daisy with like an inch more charisma.
No, she's like Daisy with an education.
I think she's like Daisy, but everything is exponentially better. I think we discussed this back in the day when we initially did this. But Daisy and Ivy always remind me of this like science project math project I did in like middle school, where it was these people and you had to figure out how they were related, and it was if they were like they were called the Wumps. Do you remember that?
It's bringing a bell, a very dim bell.
And it was so basically the way that this is a very random reference, so I'll make it quick. The way to know that they were related was if they had the same proportions but were just taller or shorter. And the way to know that they weren't would be if they were wider or thinner. And Ivy is just an evolved version of Daisy. She's like the Charmeleon version of Daisy.
Oh, okay. So she's like kind of like when they introduced like there was a 4th level to the Pokemon, so she's like in that intermediary to not even the beginner level. It's like from the primordial to the beginner.
Well, I feel like Daisy's whole thing is she's naive and she's small, she's diminutive. She's this little person who's just all fired. Ivy looks the same. She's just taller, quieter in the right moments, and has a little bit more charisma for the boys. Yeah. So she's less childish. You know how like the second evolution of a Pokemon is always like a little bit more of a puffy chest?
Yep.
So that's, yeah. So,
and to that point, the actress who plays Ivy, Cara Theobald, she voices the character of Tracer in the Overwatch series, a first-person shooter multiplayer game that's quite popular. But she has that charisma where she can just voice act, which I think she has done quite a bit of since Downton Abbey. So I don't think we expect Daisy to do any voice acting or do much of that.
I don't know. Daisy, I think Sophie McShay, is that her name?
Yeah, she's done some voice acting.
I feel like she's a great character actor. I think that she should be in more. But yeah, ultimately we agree. Maybe this is not the moment to shame Ivy for this, but I think she did kind of have a verbal beatdown from Daisy coming.
Yep.
It is just unfortunate that it happens here. So we're taking our sweet time. I mean, I'm going off on Pokemon and middle school math tangents.
The whole point is that this opens a role in the house. And that's when the ideas floated like, well, Molesley's not doing much right now. He's kind of shellacking the streets and paving roads. And, we could fill it. To which Carson says, does it have to be that guy? We could literally get anyone. We could get the cream of the crop for this role of a footman. We don't need to get Molesley. And they're like, have a heart, Carson. And he's like, not going to do it. Not going to do it.
Well, Carson just seems to be like, we offered it to Molesley. Molesley said no. And it's a battle of pride versus endurance, emotional endurance. So then Molesley shows up and he's like, hey, I saw Alfred at the train. I heard you're down a man. I'm ready. And Carson's like, you had your shot.
Right.
But but the way Carson words it is like, You didn't want to lower yourself. I'm really proud of you for having that. I'll see you around. Like, what can you do?
Yeah.
You can leave with your head held high.
And so he's around the house helping serve tea because he was like, well, we can have the help. And that's when Carson's like, okay, there's no use in fighting this war. You're on, Molesley. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's going to start that night and move in the next day. And so he starts that night, and Robert remarks like, oh, Molesley, you're back. And Molesley says, you can call me John. And then Robert says, Carson,
I don't think so.
Do we have to call him that? And Carson says, no, we can call him Trash. We can call him Dog.
Call him whatever we want to call him.
Yep. And so Molesley is back in the fold. Good for him. Huge upgrade over Alfred too, I think. Alfred also has a moment too where he gets to say goodbye to the families, thanking them for their generosity. And Carson, this is total time filler too, because
So for a 49-minute episode, there's a little bit of a pad on it.
Yeah. But classic Carson being surprised of someone showing emotional openness with the family. He's like, okay, enough Alfred, you can get out of here. Thanks. So bye, Alfred. And he says goodbye to Daisy. He goes to say, like, his horse is up. He's got to get out of there. And he's like, Daisy, I hope we're good. And Daisy, she puts on a game face to say, like, knock him dead. Cook some good food.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get anyone sick. So, bon voyage, Alfred. Now...
Yeah.
What else should we cover? Should we knock out the rest of the downstairs, or what else?
What else we have going on downstairs? We have, I guess there's a little, this is in the midst of the season where Baxter and Barrow are having the little blackmail game where Barrow is in like ultimate heel mode, trying to get information.
What is going on with Barrow's hair in this episode? Like, I was shocked.
He's the opposite of Prince William. He just has too much hair to know what to do with.
He's got volume. Like, if he were to like go like, on Dragon Ball or something, he could look like Goku or Vegeta with the hair like tufted up like that. He has so much hair.
Mm-hmm.
Cut it out, man. What is going on, Barrow? It makes him look even taller. And he's holding it over Baxter's head, whatever her secret is. We don't know.
It's so funny, and there's the moment in this episode where Cora is discussing how Anna is still sort of struggling on the back end of the Mr. Green assault, and Baxter hears it, and then I think Baxter goes and reports it to Thomas, and like there's no sense of like I will lie to this man to get him to get off my back. No, she goes up and she's like, hey, apparently something happened to Anna. And Bates is like, or he's like, what? Or Barrow, rather. Yeah, Barrow's like, what? Tell me more. And she's like, I don't have any more.
Yeah, what do you want
alone.
from me?
Cut me some slack.
And he just wants the secrets. He wants the intelligence. That's power for him. She also hears about Lady Rose having a secret, and he's like, find out what that secret is. And it's like, dude,
this is dead air.
Straight up. Just what a waste of time that is. There's definitely that feeling here of season 4 where Julian has started to kind of show elements of, I only got so much material to work with, guys, for an episode. Okay, bear with me. I'm getting.
And he's finding his footing. There's a line in this episode where I forget. I think it's Robert says that it's like, well, look at Isabel. She's finally coming out of the fog of losing Matthew. Like, isn't that great? And I feel like in this moment of this episode, Julian's really starting to settle into a post Matthew, post Sybil Downton. I think it, and while we're on that subject, downstairs adjacent at Violet's house, her little knife has gone missing, and we get the debut of a dear old friend of the podcast, someone we.
This ain't debut. This is his second episode on the show.
Oh yeah. So this is his this is his moment.
This is exit.
Yeah, I mean it's a great exit. You see his toe.
We do see his toe.
It's John C. Elmore. It's Pegg. This is the one where Pegg is accused of stealing and fired.
And not just any Pegg. It's young Pegg.
Young
Get
Pegg.
it right.
Not regular Pegg.
No,
he's
Pegg.
regular Pegg in the English game, but in this one he's young Pegg. So he's gardening, and some of the Dowager stuff goes missing. and she fires him, and he goes to Isabel to complain and say, like, what happened? I don't know what happened. Mm-hmm. Isabel, on her high horse, runs over to the Dowager and starts saying, like, you are so materialistic, which I think I wishy-washy with Isabel on the whole. Sometimes she's too self-righteous, and I think this is an episode where, yes, but if I owned a house and my stuff started going missing, I would fire people. If I was like an old millionaire and I had some minimum wage gardener in my house, go kick rocks. Find somebody else's house to water plants in.
Sure.
But Isabel, no. Yeah. She's got to fight the fight.
Right. In isolation, I felt like I was on Isabel's side this time because it's like the Dowager can be quick to, fire off her guns here, especially in this case. But I think when we watched it in sequence, by this point, Isabel was getting exhausting with her self-righteousness. But in isolation, I was like, okay, this is good that she's, trying to call out the Dowager to, be better and not try and blame others for maybe her own mistakes. But the Dowager has the last laugh because after Isabel goes there, searches the premises for the knife, finds it, brings it back. When she brings Clarkson with her to confront the Dowager about, like,
which is so unnecessary. Also, you want to say that Lord Merton, this is when we're talking way down the road.
Yeah.
She's just hanging out one-on-one with Dr. Clarkson, and that's okay? That's not okay. No. You're leading that man on.
It's not fair to him. But I do love Clarkson's reaction here, where she's, on her high horse confronting the Dowager, and he's just looking up at the ceiling with his eyes rolled back like, okay, come on.
But then he says, you got to give her the chance to retort.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, why don't you bring him in here?
Yeah.
Call in Pegg. Mm-hmm. And then Pegg comes in, tattered sock. We get a nice little Sprat moment. He doesn't want Pegg walking around in the drawing room.
Nope.
And Pegg explains to Isabel and Dr. Clarkson that Dowager called him up, said she was wrong, and hired him back. Mm-hmm. To which Dr. Clarkson says, game, set, mash.
Yeah. And Isabel just looks beside herself because, like, she thought this was going to be her moment. And that's the thing. As much as you want to think Isabel's just being righteous here, she does kind of want to put the Dowager in her place a little bit, and it's a missed opportunity for her to do that. And so it kind of lays bare.
Well, I mean, I think it isn't because the Dowager, she wants to humble the Dowager and make her realize she did something wrong. The Dowager realizes she did something wrong and handles it on her own. So it's not like the Dowager took the easy way out. She apologized to Pegg. She gave him back the job. So it's like it's like the double down that not her assumptions were wrong and she handled it appropriately without the help of Isabel. Isabel is useless.
Yeah.
So that's a humble pie. You can't always be on your high horse is what we get from Isabel here.
Exactly. And rounding out the downstairs, it's the Anna.
The Bateses?
The Bateses.
They want to go on a date. They're still having a really tough time getting over the fact of the assault.
I think where they're picking up things here is they agreed to kind of just not speak about it, move on, and that's the best way forward. But
we got a lot of great Bates quotes in this one. This starts off with one of the hottest quotes in the history of the show. Mm-hmm. She says, "Penny for your thoughts," and he's like, "Oh, you wish you could hear what I thought.
You'd pay twice to know."
And then and we get the iconic, "I'm brooding. And brooders brood."
Yeah, your husband's a brooder and brooders brood, and brood about me. That's Anna's retort. And so, yeah, he's just... I mean, Bates in this episode is just... I don't know, man. He's so strange. This is one of those episodes where it's like, this is the guy that Anna really fawns after, this man? Because... What is it? We see them...
This is our Instagram handle picture.
It's a good photo, though. But, we see him at candlelight, talking about how they can try and put this behind us and everything. But it just kind of makes Bates look menacing with, like, the dimly lit room. And, he just looks like he's just up to something. And so, yeah, they go on their date, though. They're going to have a date. And they are getting denied service, their reservation, and the guy is being hoity-toity about the hostess, and he's like, Lady Grantham is here hosting a party. She's taking up a lot of tables. You can't get in here. And they say, we know Grantham. Let us in. She knows us. And he's like, no. And then Cora walks up, and I got a note. Elizabeth McGovern in this episode, she looks like she is on something. She does not seem natural here. I don't get.
She's a little on edge.
On edge or flighty. She comes off as flighty. What could be going on here? What is the deal? It's like her eyes are just like, I don't know, Space Cadet. And then she helps arrange it for the Bateses.
Well, she guilt trips the guy. She's like, of course I know these people.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And then they have another conversation over dinner. You know, they want to just not think about it, but they think about it. You know, like it's hard for them to not live with this trauma of this assault.
Yeah. And we get again, this is peak Bates being weird though, where he says, every time I remember, I want to murder. And he smiles as he says it.
You gotta watch what you say, Bates. You've been to jail, bro.
You went to jail for murder. Why are you saying that out loud in a public space, bro? What is wrong with
a guy with a maitre d' who already does not like you?
Yeah.
If I'm that maitre d', I'm calling up Sergeant Willis and saying, like, this creep is in here talking about wanting to murder.
Straight up.
It's like, well, we'll bring you in tomorrow, Bates.
And they're going to get a lift from Cora. She's like, you want to come home with me? And they're like, as long as it's not imposition. And she's like, hostess, fetch your coats.
She's like, I'm a high, so yes.
Yeah, I'm high as a kite now.
I mean, she could, hypothetically, we never really see these people, like, overtly drunk aside from Molesley. She could just be a couple cocktails in. She's very, like,
snuff
box. She's champagne drunk.
Could be. And that's also, she eavesdrops on them having that heavy conversation. Imagine she came over moments earlier when Bates said, it makes me want to murder.
I would be like, yeah, okay.
Because that would change,
go back to my table.
That would change the context of what she was saying to Mary later when she comes home. Like, there's something up with the Bateses.
Yeah. Baxter, don't tell your direct peers that I'm running my mouth about them, please.
Right. So that's what's going on with the Bateses. Well, we can move upstairs, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can talk about wet blanket, justifiably so in this episode, Edith.
Oh boy, this is the first hint that Michael Gregson's
some bad
missing.
News.
He ain't coming back. He's missing. He's definitely missing. And so,
was this the episode? Doesn't she get the letter from the doctor?
Yeah, towards the end of this episode, she gets the letter from the doctor with the news like, it's a baby. It's definitely a baby.
That's right. It's like, your suspicions are correct. She's like, oh no.
Yeah.
And I think Robert has a really good showing in this episode. He's not a very active participant as much as he's a reactionary player here. And he's like, what is this something to do with Michael Gregson? And Edith is like, no. And he finds her crying at the fire later, and he's like, let me help. And she's like, no. And didn't he call her like my dear girl or something like that? Like, he has a nice lines. Yeah. He's very supportive. Edith is a handful, and we don't know.
He's sensitive to her.
The saga this is about to kick off, this plot line. So
yeah.
Really rough go for Edith. You know, what's her name? Carries herself so well in the role that it's so hard to like not
Laura
feel
Carmichael,
for her.
You mean?
Yeah, Laura Carmichael.
Yeah. Well, at least it doesn't seem that bad, so we can just kind of rest with like, who knows? Maybe he'll show up, and as Robert says,
as Robert says, I assure you, he's not dead. It's like, well, bro,
right?
The dude's dead.
Yeah, stress for another time. I don't know. He could come back, and we never saw him die.
Yeah, listen to our Patreon fan fiction to hear about what may or may not have happened to him.
Exactly. But I think the big thing in this episode is Lady Rose is going to help Robert celebrate his birthday.
Yeah, I mean, I think before we get into that, there's just a few low-hanging fruit things of Branson is considering his move to America.
Which was a good signifier, like, man, these plot lines take up so much time in season 4 and season 5.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this. There's a scene where, a great scene, and I think we talked about this maybe both times we talked about this episode, in the nursery where Isabel, Mary, and Branson are all talking with their little ones around, and they talk about falling in love for the first time, and Mary talks about how she didn't have a jacket and it was so cold, but she was so caught up in the emotion. And Branson talks about how he would think about Sybil for days and weeks, and we're like, yeah, bro, we lived it. We lived through season 1. You stared in the window, you creep.
Yeah.
And Isabel talks about how she loved her, falling for her husband. And this nice moment between these three people that have all sort of lost their connection to Downton, to the main house. And very nice moment, but we also see, relating to Mary and Branson are trying to get the pigs in order. And this is before we're fully aware that Charles Blake is a pig man.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to, find the way to make some profit off the land, off the farm, and that's why Robert has called in those people, because Evelyn Napier knows someone who can help out. And
no, that's not why they're coming, because they're doing that study.
Oh, okay. I don't know. This is only the third time I watched this episode. Fourth time. It's
a Monday, so this what's going on is Robert is like, I don't know about pigs. I don't know anything about pigs. I'm nervous about pigs.
Makes that clear.
But Napier and our man Charles Blake are coming because they're doing a survey about the shift in society away from sort of manor homes that like fund the community.
Yeah, can they?
And Blake,
because they're like,
Blake comes in hot.
Well, yeah, he's pretty much telling her, like, do you need all this land for the amount of pigs that you have on the farm? We're trying to figure out, like, hey, maybe we can more effectively use this land, or be more efficient with the pigs that we use here. So it could be bad news for you and your family.
Yeah, and he says that she would rather like be successful than see more people eat. And his goal is to sort of be help society on the whole. That's what the function of this thing that they're doing. That's why they're there for an indefinite amount of time. And these two are like quipping back and forth from the get. Like, this is right under math. Like, if this had more time to marinate, Blake and Mary might have had more fire under it than Matthew and Mary. And I love Matthew and Mary, but it just seems that's so nice.
They have a rapport.
We talk about when we talk about Bridgerton, one thing that we always talked about was the fire and the passion. And you can see that, like, Charles Blake, there's a moment at the end of this episode where Napier and Blake are standing there, and Blake is like, she's this old money person who thinks that she deserves the world handed to her on a plate. I really don't like her. I don't like these people. And Napier's like, well, bad news, bro. She thinks the same thing about you. She thinks you're pretty painful. And then it does like a wide shot of the two of them sipping champagne while the rest of the room dances.
You're looking like duds.
It's like, in that moment, you're like, I need to see these two get it on. Like,
and it's funny, we were talking about how when we first started watching this episode, we were thinking, okay, when are they going to get to the pigs? And it's like, this guy doesn't show up for the last 10 minutes, but it makes you want to watch that next episode where they do get to the pigs.
Which we will be doing.
Yeah.
But man, like, there's not too much to dwell on, and I'm sure we'll talk about it when we talk about the pigs properly. He's got it all, Julian Avenden. He really should have. He shouldn't have walked away.
I don't know if he walked away. It may have been Julian's choice.
Avenden or Fellows?
Fellows.
Well, Avenden is doing just fine, but man, real missed opportunity. And I think that's something we could. What if he is not written off?
Yeah. And
he's the one with Mary. They're so much more compatible.
Yep.
So yeah, now let's get back to the birthday party.
Right. So it's Robert's birthday, and so Lady Rose has a great idea to as a birthday treat for him. But it's going to be a surprise, and everyone needs to be sworn to secrecy. And we see her asking Cora, like, who should I tell, Carson or And she's like, no. Hughes is the one who keeps secrets. Carson, he's a blabbermouth. He tells people everything. He told me my daughter was cooking, and I didn't even need to know that.
He's a snitch.
Yeah. So she tells Cora to set aside the room because there's going to be visitors coming for an event. Just keep it to herself. And it all lays low. We know what she's doing. She's going to get a band. She's going to get her boyfriend, Jack Ross.
Jack Ross.
To come through. And so that's exactly what happens. The night of, they come to visit, and Carson is like...
Great interaction between Hughes and Carson and Jack Ross.
Mm-hmm.
About slavery.
Yeah. How he can't be that bad, right? He's got to be a pretty good guy, huh?
Carson turns around on Jack Ross pretty quickly.
Yeah. Because he's a good dude.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everyone... It is funny to see which characters scoff at the black guy being in Downton. Mm-hmm. And it's Carson, the Dowager, and Edith.
Yeah.
And Robert for a second, but then Robert's like, this is crazy. Let's have fun.
Yeah. Yeah, because Robert's like, I don't know about this. This ain't right. And yeah, before you know it, Jack Ross and all of them are performing. Everyone's having a good time. We see, who is it? Napier and the Dowager dancing, and she's like, okay, we can only dance so much, Napier. You got to find another woman.
And he goes, hey, you single though?
Right. I'm down. I'm down if you're down. And so, yeah, we're off. And before the episode ends, though, of course, Lady Rose has got to steal her kisses from Jack Ross.
Yeah, Mary's going down to collect the check, or the billing information that we can give the tax form to, so Jack Ross and the boys can get paid.
Yep.
And he's getting paid in some other way down there.
Oh yeah, a lot of snogging going on, and Mary's going to keep that secret to herself until next week.
Yeah, what a way to end the episode.
Yeah, and that is the whole episode. So
it's a very good episode, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a little fluffy. Mm-hmm. The Bates stuff is a little Cora Bates and Cora is odd. Mm-hmm. Barrow and Baxter's just killing time, but the rest of it I think is really top notch.
Yeah. It's fun. I mean, the Bates, the dialogue, at least in the Bates stuff, is fun.
Oh yeah. You can murder.
Exactly. And I mean, I do like the silliness of the Alfred Daisy drama of it all. It's so soapy. It's so silly.
Yeah, yeah.
Even if we're not crazy about those characters. But yeah, we have power rankings. I'm curious how they compare to the previous times we've done this episode.
Yeah. Now, I don't know. You had the information somewhat readily available. I did not do my work here. But now we could do double work because we've done this one twice. So I am curious to see if it's changed.
I think it's changed each time I've watched this episode.
Okay. Well, you want to start us off on the bottom then?
With my current rankings?
Do you have all three pulled up?
I don't have them all. I can pull them up in a second, but we'll just start
so
off.
We'll do all three. Or do current, and then we'll do your past ones.
Well, at number 3 going down, I got Ivy.
Me too.
You know, she gets browbeaten by all the women in the house, and Jimmy forces himself on her.
She deserves the browbeating for sure, which would also put her on the down rankings. But then Jimmy creeps on her and shows that he's not really interested in it. And she says he whispered things that even a woman shouldn't hear until she's married.
I want to know what he whispered.
It's also not a huge window for him to whisper. It's only about 14 seconds.
Right. I can only imagine what he wanted to say, or did say. At number 2 going down, I got Edith.
Okay.
Double whammy of bad news. Greg's still missing, and you're pregnant.
That's it. Well, I got Isabel too.
Okay.
They serve her up a big old slice of humble pie. Just because you think that Violet is petty and does these things doesn't mean that she can't grow, and she can grow without your help.
Sure.
So that's that.
Well, at number 1 going down, I got Daisy.
Really?
Yeah. She is so upset this episode about Alfred leaving, and she lets everyone know it, and she can't hide it. And yeah, now she's just a downer, making other people feel bad. So bad times for Daisy.
Screw her.
Okay.
Well, at number 1 going down, I got Edith. It doesn't get much worse than this, aside from Gregson dying. Because even if Gregson is alive, she's not married to him, and he's married. Like,
Yeah.
we forget that he is married to someone who is in an institution.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a lose-lose-lose situation. So that's a
It's a tough beat.
tough place for her to be.
For sure. Well, who's going up, Dave?
Number 3, I got Lady Rose, Cousin Rose.
Mm-hmm.
She executes this band, a big surprise. Robert's happy, and then she makes out with the guy, black guy. She's following her heart. She's crazy. She's just this young, naive, silly, manic pixie, rich aristocrat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's an accurate way to describe her, Dave. Well, at number 3 going up. Well, honorable mention for me to Dowager. She's not in the top 3, but honorable mention to her for showing up, Isabel. Number 3 going up, I got Bates for all the words that he says this episode. Brooders, brood.
I had Bates. I literally, this is the tough. I scratched out my upward power rankings twice through. This is Bates was on both for first 2 drafts, got cut. He's my honorable mention.
Okay.
He's a brooder, and he could murder.
Yes. Well, who's number 2 going up, Dave?
I got Molesley.
Sure.
Great, like he's willing to do the work. You talk about how Isabel is served a plate of humble pie. Mm-hmm. Molesley's like, please give me humble pie. I will pour tea for the servants.
You got seconds? I'll take some more. Well, number 2 going up, I got Alfred. The guy got a job. He's getting out of Down.
He's my number 1.
Well, but Molesley's my number 1.
I mean, they're kind of flippy floppy.
Sure.
I think Alfred's upgrade in life isn't a bigger upgrade than Molesley's.
Yeah. I think it's fair. But as it compares to my other rankings, so when I did this back in 2018, I had number 3 going down Baxter for being intimidated by Barrow, Isabel at number 2 going down, and then Edith at number 1 going down. Going up was Jack Ross at number 3, Molesley at number 2, and then Alfred at number 1. And then when we did this in 2021, I had Daisy going down at number 3, Anna going down at number 2, Edith at number 1.
Wow, okay.
And then going up was young Pegg at number 3, Molesley at number 2, and Alfred at number 1. So
Well, I like the sentimentality is there where I think in 2021, did we rewatch this?
Yep.
We're still pretty hot in the John C. Elmore fan club.
Get him on the podcast. But yeah, Molesley rose through the rankings here. And Daisy rose from number 3 last time to number 1. So really, who's going to be in the power rankings at the top of them? It's kind of just how I'm feeling when I watch the episode, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can see where our thought process is going contextually versus a year or 2 removed versus, wait a minute, we watched this one a second time on the podcast already?
Well, you know what it is, Dave, is so the first time we watched it, it was in December 16th, 2018. And then the second time we watched it was May 12th, 2021. And now we're September 2024. So about every, give or take 3 years, we revisit this episode.
Yeah. Just by weird coincidence. So maybe, another April we'll be watching it in 2026. 27, yeah.
Yeah. If we're still doing this, who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
I mean, look, if Julian's still plugging away, we'll plug away.
Sounds fair to me. Yeah.
If we still got Gilded Age seasons coming out, we'll be covering Bridgerton season 6 and after its multiple delays.
Yeah. That's charitable. It'd probably be Bridgerton season 5 at that rate. Dave, you been watching anything else?
Not particularly, but I guess I did rewatch. So I was looking for a 90-minute movie to watch the other day because there's so few and far between the good ones. I wound up rewatching Paddington,
the first one
because I think I want to rewatch both. Well, the movie comes out in January, right?
Correct. If we want to go to London, we could see it this year before Thanksgiving.
Okay, yeah. But I've been sometimes I needed a feel good movie, and I wanted to watch that, and it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, just
charming. And I think we do. I think Patreon needs a proper Paddington 2 rewatch before Paddington goes to Peru.
Yeah, willing to give it a rewatch the closer we get to that.
Great Hugh. He's so funny in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it's a foundational piece of this podcast that we've never properly covered. So
those movies maximize the talent of the people in there. Honestly, it made at their peak charming. Even Hugh Grant in the sequel,
Nicole Kidman.
Yeah. Even the neighbor, the old man,
Peter Capaldi. Yeah,
Peter Capaldi from Doctor Who, and Inside the Loop. Yeah.
What about you, Corey? Watch anything good aside from football?
So much football. Not much. I watched Magnolia for the first time, the 3-hour movie from Paul Thomas Anderson over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. I was like, well, this is going to be leaving Criterion Channel. I got to watch it. And it was fine. It was 3 hours. It didn't need to be 3 hours. And I watched, I don't know, man, unremarkable stuff. Yeah, I was watching Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, the trivia show before our podcast today, because I was like, what was going on with that show? Was it as good as I remember as a kid?
And what's the word? Is it as good?
Yeah, definitely Where in the World, not Where in Time. Where in Time was a step down, because it was just general trivia at that point, and then they were giving the kids computers for the grand prize, whereas they won a trip on Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, and I think geography is much more challenging than just general trivia of like, when
history?
Did this happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you were a 8-year-old,
Mm-hmm.
what would you rather have, a trip or a computer that you could play video games on indefinitely?
I mean, as an 8-year-old, definitely a computer. Although I'd be disappointed if the computer wasn't maxed out so I could play all the games that I wanted to play.
Yeah, I think I understand. That's probably smart because like PBS is Carmen Sandiego.
Yeah.
Probably smart use of their funds to just give the kids a Dell instead of sending them to, wherever you send a family in the 90s.
And also,
because there's no Great Wolf Lodge, they're not sending anybody to Disney. They're sending them to like Atlanta or something like that.
yeah.
Have fun.
The budget place they can afford for the TV show. The irony, though, is like that. It brought to mind how no one ever really wins that final challenge where they have to take the lamps or the flashing siren and place it on a map, because they barely give the kids enough time to run across and put it down. And so it's just like, no, none of these kids are ever going to go on a trip. The deck is stacked against them.
PBS won.
Yeah.
Carmen won.
But that acapella group, the Rockapella, incredible. That holds up like just as well as it did in the 90s there. So if anyone is looking to kill time and educate their kids on geography, because that doesn't change. History comes and goes in terms of what's important. Geography doesn't change that much. It's still a good watch for your kids. And
all right.
That is where I am in my life. I need help. But until next time, we'll be doing Downton Abbey Season 4, Episode 7 next week. We're going to be...
Are we sure that's the pig one?
It's got to be. What other one would it be?
It's 7 or 8. It's one of the next two.
We keep going until we hit it.
We're doing the pig one next week.
Yeah, we'll keep going until we hit it. All right? Why don't we do that? Just run back all of Season 4 in the back half of it. We're going to get back to Lost in Austin. We're going to finish watching the last 2 episodes of that. But otherwise, you know where to find us. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X. Find all our podcasts on Spotify or iTunes, wherever you get them. Leave us 5-star rating and review if you so choose. Our Patreon for that bonus content that I mentioned. You can find all our archive too on our Podbean website. But lordsgrantham@gmail.com if you have questions too. But until then, we'll catch you next time on the pod.